people, when they start talking about what they want to manifest in life, what they want to have in life,
Yes.
a lot of it is kind of in a dream world, dreamscape, if you so to speak, where it's kind of pie in the sky, and there's nothing about their life right now that would suggest that they can have what it is that they're saying that they desire to have. Meaning that
Yes.
so it's like, if I wanted to be an NFL athlete, right? I want to play in the NFL right now. I'm 47 years old. I got a little from the Marine Corps. I got some arthritis, got some back pain, got all kind of issues like that. My substantial reality is that I do not have an environment in my life right now that would support that vision, that dream. So
Yes.
the substantial reality is, first you have to you have to find it, like, is it in your pathway? Is it possible for you to go from A to B? You know, like, it's like telling a person, I want you to walk from A to B. Telling an amputee who has both legs amputated, I want you to walk from one end of the hallway to the other end of the hallway, but they don't have any legs. They don't have any legs
Okay.
whatsoever. Now, let's say that person, that amputee, is sitting there, but I've given them the prosthetics. Now they got prosthetics, and I say, I want you to walk from one end of the hallway to the other end of the hallway. Now they may have never done it, never put a prosthetics on before in their life, but because I'm telling them that they can do it, and I'm telling them to do that, and there are prosthetics there. Yes, they have to learn how to strap them on. They have to learn how to maneuver and move with them. They have to learn how to get balanced. They have to go through all that process, go through that journey. But first, there has to be the substantial reality of a methodology of getting there. So when we say that we want to start a business, so to speak, right? We want to start a business. Or we want to buy a house. We want to buy a house.
Yes.
Um, well, here's the thing. What's the current substantial reality of your life? How's your credit? How much money do you make? How much potential money can you make? Uh, how are your bills? What's your budget? And what's the cost of housing in your area? The type of housing that you. Let's get all those facts first, so that we recognize the current energy level that you're at. Once we get that, that's our substantial reality. Now we say, okay, what's the next level of our substantial reality? What can we change? What can we improve? Can we budget? Like, how do we budget our money, right? So that we are able to save money, because with our current credit situation, we may have to increase our credit. So how do we increase? Is there a possibility? Do I have extra money to pay down my debt, or do I just not have any credit, and that's why my credit is low? So am I with a credit union? What kind of banking system am I with that I can increase my credit by acquiring different things? So we go through that process so that you understand your substantial reality of what energy level you're at, what energy level you can move to, so that you then start changing your vibration to get to a point where now you can get a house. And we have the patience to go through that journey. That's another part of substantial reality, is, do you have patience to go through a journey that gets you where you're desiring to be? So when you have people who have these pie in the sky dreams, they say they want to have a house, but they're not willing to save money. They want to have a house, but
Okay.
they're not willing to increase their income. They're not willing to do any of those things, where their substantial reality truly is, they don't want a house. They like talking about it, but they don't really want one. So
Love is energy, and energy is everywhere.
right.
Tell us about the 5 languages of love, the pros and the cons.
All right. So love is, you know what? Before I tell you about the, and by the way, I just want to let you know that I'm doing a live stream on YouTube of this interview. So just in case, just so you know it.
Okay.
Um, Before we talk about the 5 love languages, pros and cons of it, there's a thought process about love that I really haven't talked about a lot, but I'm gonna give it here.
Yes.
Love it is an energy. It's an emotional energy that shows itself in the actions of how we treat ourselves and how we treat other people. right? How we treat our environment.
Yeah. Yes.
That energy, of course, it has those actions. It produces a reality. But love can also be the most dangerous thing that you have in your life. Because love, uncontrolled, causes people to, like, I myself have made bad financial decisions because of love. You know, I loved
Yeah.
I loved a woman so much so, loved the wife so much so, that I made bad financial decisions to try to make her happy. So uncontrolled love, just like any energy that is uncontrolled, if nuclear energy is uncontrolled, it devastates and destroys an area, right?
Yeah.
We get
Yeah.
Chernobyl because of uncontrolled energy. So even the energy of love, uncontrolled, can be just as destructive, um, as much as it can be productive. Now, when it's controlled and that love is given properly, it's experienced properly, it's not, when somebody loves you to the point where they are a benefit in your life, where they are magnifying who you are, being able to magnify your goals, your hopes, your dreams, they're able to, be there for you. That's controlled love that emphasizes you becoming a greater version of yourself. So when we understand that, we have to give it in control, because not everybody deserves your love. You give your love to the wrong person, it's detrimental to both you and them. So we have to be good stewards of our love. This is why love is controlled. It's not just given out freely. And it's not, and the idea of love being unconditional is that destructive thing. I won't give my love to a project, a person, an environment that is harmful to me. I won't allow an abuser to keep abusing me and I keep giving them love because I'm saying that I'm supposed to give them unconditional love. Love is conditional and should always be conditional, which makes it a controlled energy. So when you understand the 5 love languages, which was written in a book, I forgot the name of the author and everything, but it was a good book. It's a good book to get started on. There's 5 of them that they talk about, that he ironed out. And I'm gonna do this in the order that's important to me. So I'm gonna be a little selfish. Right? This is also a look inside of who I am when it comes to this thing. So one of the first ones he talks about is physical touch. Right? Physical touch.
Yeah.
This love language is demonstrated by a person who, the way they receive love is that they must receive physical touch. They must, oftentimes people will go straight to intimacies of sexual intimacy with this one, but you have to realize that it's more than just sexual intimacy. It's all around physical touch intimacy, period. It's standing in the kitchen and the person walks by you and they touch you on your shoulder, they rub you on your back, you're standing in line and you hold each other, you walk down the street holding hands, you're watching a movie and you throw your leg on the other person. It's all kinds of sexual and non-sexual physical touch as well. And in all of these, you have to understand what is the level that person requires that. So like in the video that I talked about the 5 love languages, I talked about how there's a dialect, right? There's a dialect that we speak.
Yeah.
If you don't speak the dialect of the person, my physical touch and another person's physical touch may be different because we're both speaking English, right? We're speaking the same language, but you're speaking Australian English and I'm speaking American English. So although we can communicate for the most part, there are going to be some differences. And we got to understand those differences. And the more we understand those differences, the better. So physical touch, the person needs to be touched a lot. They need to be touched to their level. Making love is very important to them. It's more than just a physical act. It becomes a connective tissue within the person's relationship with you. Right? Without it, they don't feel connected. Right? So physical touch is vital. Now, if one person is extreme with their physical touch and the other person is not, then it can be destructive, because now it's like you're always on me, you always touch me, so they build up a resentment. And in all of these, that same principle applies. You can build up barriers and resentment because a person does it too much, or they do it in places that the other person deems as inappropriate. So it still has to be organized and metered out. So the second one, so physical touch is the first one. I'm trying not to spend as much time on each one of them so we can do this interview right, and we only have an hour. The next one for me would be quality time. Quality time. In the Marine Corps we call it hard charging. I am a hard charger. I work till I'm exhausted. I will work 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Easy. But within all of that, I need to meet you for lunch. Within all of that, if you're in the same part of town, I need you to stop at this gas station because I'm near you and I just want to hug. But also, it's 6 o'clock. I need us to meet. I need us to meet for dinner and sit down and have a conversation. I need to be able to talk to you on the phone and have conversation. Sending text messages all day. I need to, if I'm dating someone, I need to see you dang near every day, right? I want to see you every day, and I want to spend at least an hour or 2 hours with you. It is being in the presence of one another becomes very vital for a person who deems quality time and how you're spending that time. You can't be spending that time scrolling on Facebook, ignoring the other person. You don't spend that time being distracted by everything else in life. A person who's high on quality time, they want your attention to a certain level. Maybe it's 80%, maybe it's 100%. Now, if you're watching a movie together, that's that quality time that y'all agreed to do. But they want to be in your presence and want to be in your presence a certain way. So when a person has quality time, that's what they want. Now, of course, in the love language, there are matchups. Since my first two are or physical touch and quality time, I want to spend time with you. Pretty much probably got my arm around you. There's touching while we're spending that time. If we're sitting, I'm probably going to, reach over and hold on to your leg. Matter of fact, when I'm driving and if I'm dating you, and we're driving, my hand is either holding your hand or on your leg, while we're talking. And I have been known to take a 7-10 hour drive and talk the whole drive. I will run my mouth. So, when you got a person who's physical touch, quality time, those things mean love to them. Those things mean love to them. So if that's not yours, you're gonna have a problem, or if you can't adapt to it. Now, the next one for me would be acts of service. It's acts of service. This one, it's important, but it's not a make or break. But what acts of service is, and here's, I'm gonna tell you where people mess up on acts of service. Really, especially men.
Yeah.
Where men really mess up on acts of service. Acts of service, of course, is doing things for the other person. Is whether it's, a lot of men think if I pay the bills, then I'm doing an act of service. If I buy flowers on these made up holidays, then I'm doing it. If I remember the anniversary, the birthday, and I take her on a trip, we go out to dinner, acts of service. If I cut the grass, acts of service. All these, doing those things, they are acts of service. But here's the secret to acts of service. It's listening to the person well enough in your general conversation to pick up on the cues that you just perform acts without them asking. Perform acts without them asking. If you know that, like, I'm the kind that I will stuff the trash can until it can't, like, I push it down. I'm a push it down kind of guy, right? Now, I like my house clean, I like it smelling good, but I'm gonna push that thing down. But if you know the person is like, nah, when it's about halfway and need to go out, that's a pet peeve there, and they may not say much about it. You gotta say that act is, you do it anyway. You do it without them asking, right? If they got a certain way of how they like their grass done, you do it without them asking. Funny thing. This is funny to me. So my kid's mom, her and I, we dated all for the most part through high school, and we was married for 17 years. An act of service from me to her was the fact that during the majority of that time frame, she never pumped gas, right? Never pumped gas.
Yeah.
On Sunday, I take the cars, I go fill them up with gas, I get the cars washed. So she didn't wash the car either. So I pump the gas, wash the car. I'll check the car again, like depending upon how she's been driving. I'll pay attention to how she's been driving, where she's been going. And maybe Wednesday, Thursday, I check it again, wash the car, pump the gas, right? Did that for 17 years of our married life. So that's what she was used to. That was an act of service. That showed her consideration, that I had consideration and love for her, right? Because acts of service was very big for her. After we got divorced and we were having a conversation, because we have a good working relationship, good co-parenting, she was telling me how she pulled up to a gas station. Well, first, she told me how she almost ran out of gas because she never had to pay attention to the gas. Then
Yes.
she told me how she pulled up to the gas station and she sat there for like 5 minutes until it clicked in her brain, she got to pump her own gas now. And that's when she realized that, and for her, that's when she realized our relationship had ended. That part of our relationship had ended. Because that was an act of service that she never had to ask me about or think about. And if acts of service is your mate's love language, you got to learn how to, you got to pick up the cues to do it without her or him ever asking you to do it. You know, when you got to ask, it's a problem, because now we think the person thinks you're doing a favor, you're doing a chore, you really don't want to do it. But when you just do it without asking, you are mastering the acts of service. So acts of service is a good one. Now it can be, you can do too much. This is why I was saying the dialect is very important. Figuring out what means what to whom, that's very important. How they see it, you know, because some acts of service won't mean nothing to me. Like some acts of service won't mean nothing to me. So it's like, you got to know which kind would work for the person. So we got physical touch, quality time, acts of service. And the next one in my list, number 4 for me, and I'm going based on me, would be words of affirmation, right? Words of affirmation. This is speaking well and uplifting the person. Now, I think that we should do this for our mates anyway, even if this is not even an important love language for them. We should definitely do this for our children. We should do this for people who are close to us. We should always be uplifting people, period. But when you're in a relationship with someone and they are that person that they receive a lot of love from that, this is not just do it when they're feeling down. This is not just doing it when they're sad. This is doing it, period. Like, even when they're happy, when they're going through small situations, even when they don't ask about it, when you just know their situation, right? I was talking to a client of mine, and they were helping another person going through their situation, and it reminded them of them when they went through a similar situation. And even though they weren't asking me to give them words of affirmation, I still gave them the words of affirmation. I still reminded them that even though they went through that drowning moment, they swam through it, and that they're still swimming through it, and that they still have the power to swim through the issue, to get past it, to deal with it. And the fact that they can help another person shows how much they've grown into it. You know, they weren't asking for words of affirmation, but you give it anyway. But those words of affirmation is encouragement. When they're up, when they're down. Don't just wait for them to be down and depressed and tell them that, you know, you can match the vibration, you can overcome, you got something inside you that's stronger, or you know how great you are. You know, I send messages to my children all the time, just telling them like you are my children, which means that, you know, we have our own little codes, and I'll send the code to them. I like, who's your father? That's all I say. Who's your father? And they know that to them, that's me saying, you are my children. So what I expect for what these other jokers do is average, and that's okay. But because you're my kids, you are made of sterner stuff. You are made of greater stuff. Therefore, you have that ability to produce greater stuff. And it's been encoded enough that all I have to say is, I am your father. Who is your father? Anything related to me being their dad. That's it. Right? But one of my children, she needs that. She needs that words of affirmation. That's something that gives her love, that gives her, you know, that feeling. And we have to be able to do that. So when you got a mate who needs words of affirmation, you're their encourager. You're their cheerleader. You can't be a sideline person with them. You can't be a person in the crowd. You that cheerleader that even when they're down, even when they're up, you got chants. You got cheers that you're giving them. You're their constant cheerleader. I don't know, what's that song by OMI? That where you got a little cheerleading song. That's what you got to be. You got to find your cheerleader. So that one, that one for me, it's cool, but it ain't something that I get all like, oh, you know what, she really loves me. And the last one, which is one that I can care the least about as far as when it concerns me, the last one is gifts. Gifts. And I really want to get there's some details in gifts that many people misunderstand. People who love gifts, who receives love through gifts, oftentimes it is not about how much the gift costs. Oftentimes it's not even about the gift. It is the thought that counts. I know that's a saying, it's a slogan, but it is the thought that counts. When you have a person, when what you're showing them is that you took the time to listen to them. You took the time to understand them. You took the time to know their likes and their dislikes. And when you saw something, it clicked in your mind, you recognized it, and you went and you got it and you provided it as a gift. And the best time to do this is on any day that ends in Y. Not on their birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, holiday, whatever you celebrate. Not on any of those holidays. When it's just Tuesday. When it's just Tuesday. When you know that your mate collects, the spoons from other, how people collect the spoons from other cities and countries, and you on a business trip and you see the spoon, pick it up. Right? There's a friend of mine. She collects water from different bodies of water. So last year I was down by the Gulf of Mexico, wasn't doing nothing. I was standing on the beach, so I was like, oh yeah, you know what? They like water, and I know I'm gonna see them as soon as I get back. So I scooped up some water in a little vial, gave them some water. Loved it. Loved the fact that I brought water from the Gulf of Mexico because they didn't have water. And here's what's crazy for that person. It depends on, they got water from the Gulf of Mexico, but this one is from Biloxi. That one is from, so it's like, it has meaning because it's from different parts. So it's the same gift, but it's slightly different. But because I remembered, it strengthened our friendship, because at that moment, right, and that's what exactly, and it's so big. And let me put his business out there. My brother, my family will pick on my brother because they like, you can buy my brother. You want to show my brother, you want to be with my brother, you can buy him, right? And my family just take his love of gifts as you can buy him. What I tried to explain to them a couple years ago is that you cannot buy my brother. It is the energy and the thought you put behind it, right? That's what means something to him. So when and I've told people when they're dealing with him, don't just arbitrarily buy him any old thing. You need to know what he finds meaning in, and then do that. You do that, you got my brother. Easy. And I always tell them, you want to see my brother succeed and grow in life, words of affirmation. My brother he is straight up gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service. And you get that down pat and understanding his dialect, my brother will then break his back for you. He will break his back for you. So those things, all that. Now, if you are a manipulative type person, you can use that to manipulate people. You can. And some people do. But this is why the love languages has to come out of an act of controlled love. Because the goal here is to show that person that you love them in the way they receive love, but speaking their dialect, and you're doing it because you want to see them prosper and have a happy, enjoyable life. It is not about what you get out of it. It's about what they get out of it. And that best situation is when you're doing that for them and they're doing that for you. It's kind of like when I talk about sexual alchemy and I talk about tantra. you can't perform
Okay.
that when you are doing it for yourself. You can only perform that when you're doing it with somebody. Like I tell guys all the time, stop going into it trying to get your satisfaction out of it. Go into it to satisfy the woman. Now, if she's a good woman, she'll go at it trying to satisfy you. And then you just have this constant energy that's going between the two of you, strictly devoted to taking care of the other person. And when you mastermind that kind of mindset in your entire life, that couple truly becomes a power couple to create in life whatever it is they desire, whatever level of success they have decided is success, because they're reciprocating. I'm giving to you what you need and what you desire, and you're giving to me what I need and I desire. So when we go to build a business, we know we're doing it more than just for our own selfishness. When we decide we want to buy a house, we're doing it for more than our own selfishness. We're doing this with the consideration of the other person, with the love of the other person. So, you know, all those things work together. They work together.
True, true, true. Love is emotional energy and how you treat people
Yes.
with the 5 language of love. Number 1, physical touch. Now, foreplay, massage is physical touch and a part of foreplay.
Yes.
Quality time, yes. Dinner in the middle, lunch in the middle of the day, break that cycle, the monotony. Seeing your loved one, yeah. The act of service, yes, I understand. Not washing the car, listening and performing acts without asking, yes. Just the thought, just know that you thought of them that day throughout the time span. Word or affirmation is known that everybody else can tell you, but that man or that woman you love tell you, and you believe it more, and you can thrive on that a little bit more. The gift, it doesn't matter. Even if you go in the store, a convenience store, and a woman is sitting in the car, yes, think about her.
That's right.
As I thought about you, yes.
You're absolutely right.
Being certain men and they dialect will say, hey, come here. And it's known that you should talk sweeter to your mate than you do the next man. And that part of the dialect is someone say to me, and I'm in a relationship, hey, I want to know who is they talking to?
Right.
But if they said, yeah, so that happens. Then you saying that even with the physical touch and all these qualities that the person is lacking can cause resentment, okay, with that control energy, like the control love, as if in the beginning, the universe is all in your favor. Then I guess some of that resentment from being without start to sink in. And this is when is this rocky in the universe now. And a lot of people don't know how to grasp control of, like you said, the control energy.
Right.
Or the control love. Not being aware of oneself.
Oh.
Of that love.
Yes. Self-awareness is incredibly vital to any and all of this. If you, and it's funny because the other day I was putting myself through one of my own exercises that I coach people through. And the very first thing that I have to do, that you do in it, is based on self-awareness. You have to know who you are. Even from the genetic parts to the conditioned parts. You have to know who you are. And then it is up to you to decide who you're going to be and the process that you're going to take to go through this. Because you're right, there is such abundance in the universe and life You can be whomever you choose to be. Now, of course, we've been conditioned to be a certain way based on our parents, our communities, our nations, wherever we've grown up, our sex, male, female, gender, whatever. We've been in certain conditions. But we can decide what we want to maintain and what we want to get rid of. We can decide who we want to be. And when we decide that self, when we get to that point where we're aware of self and we know exactly how we want to exist as a energetic being on this physical reality, then you can move into that circle where you say, now I know how to be with someone else. I know how to deal with another person. I know how to love another person because I've come so self-aware that I love myself enough that I can now give it to the next person. Because without that self-awareness, we can't give that love. And without that self-awareness, we really can't access all the abundance that's around us. And it just continues to pass you by like a piece of dust that flew past your eye. It just passed you by and continues on this journey. That opportunity just passed you by, continues on this journey. Because you weren't self-aware enough to recognize it and then to utilize it. So we have to go through that. We have to know ourselves.
Absolutely true. And this brings to mind, like, there's a saying, when a nigga become a king, walls come falling down. That also has to do with being aware of oneself.
Oh, yeah. Let's say that one more time. When a what becomes a king?
When a nigga becomes king, the walls come tumbling down, falling down.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hate that term, but I'm with you. I understand. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, though. I understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. Now, this is the, but you know, this is the thing that I talked about when I did a video about the difference between an alpha, beta, and alpha, beta, Charlie, and delta male. Like what truly is an alpha male.
Yeah.
And that alpha male would fit the bill of a king, right? But what you have, but the most destructive thing you got out there, it is not the beta male trying to be an alpha. It is not the delta male trying to be an alpha. It's that Charlie male trying to be an alpha, right? And that Charlie male will fit into that category of that word that you used.
Okay.
And because this is the person who is struggling so hard to become something that they're not willing to take the time and effort to develop, that they are very destructive. This is the man that feels intimidated by his woman, and so what he does is he beats her physically, or he beats her mentally and tries to drive her down to lift himself up. But if you take that Charlie male and they become cultivated in the ways of truly being an alpha male, then they understand that that male lion, I love using lions as an example for this, but that male lion, he also knows how to nurture the female lions. He also knows how to nurture the lion cubs. He knows how to maintain the territory so that the family keeps eating. Now, sometimes the Charlie guy, he sees the male lion is always the first one to eat. And so he takes that as this male dominance kind of mentality, not realizing that the role of the male is to protect the family. So because he's protecting the family, he got to have the energy to do that. So that's why he eats first. That's why he eats first. It's not because he's a male. It's not because he's so much stronger, right? It's merely because of his role, his job. You know, my grandfather ate first and got that big piece of chicken because my grandfather was out there before he owned his construction company. He was working construction. That's long, that's hard. That's out in this Georgia sun beating down on you. He needed that energy more than I'm just going to school and I'm playing football and that sort of thing. He needed that big piece of chicken, right? So he didn't get the big piece of chicken because he was like some, you know, just dominant male mental, you know, just male energy flowing. My grandmother realized she knew what he was going out there to do. So he got the big piece of chicken. His plate was
Yes.
made first. You know, nobody else plate got made. Nobody sat at that table first before my grandfather did, right? And yeah,
I remember that.
yeah, it was respect, but it was also respect for what he's out there doing. He's providing and protecting the house. And even though my grandmother worked, the bulk was on my grandfather, and the responsibility was on my grandfather, right?
Okay.
So
Yes.
some of these Charlie males though, they want to lay up and don't do nothing, and they expect to get the big piece of chicken. I was just speaking to a young lady the other day, and I was telling her, you're an alpha female who also knows how to nurture. So you somewhat of an alpha beta female because you understand the nurturing part of it, the affection part.
Yes.
But it would take a true alpha male to earn her submission into allowing him to be the alpha male in her house. But he would have to earn it. There's a lot of these beta and Charlie women who are just giving it away to some Charlie dude who don't deserve to be the alpha male in her house. Has not qualified. Doesn't show it. He lays up. He doesn't do nothing. He got an excuse for everything. The man is holding me back. You know, it's hard out here for a black man. And it's hard out here for a black man. But
what about self-employment?
Right. There's self-employment. Look, let me tell you something. There was times that my family, I didn't know how I was going to feed them in the next couple of weeks. In the next week. Heck, let me put it honestly, I had $27. I remember a point. I got small babies and I got $27 in my bank account. I didn't know how I was going to feed my family. I felt I felt low at that moment. Right? And my kid's mom at the time, she was like, and it's kind of Lion King-ish, and we make jokes, and we will use quotes from movies, and she was, and now that when they use it in the Black Panther, is even funnier to me now. But when Mufasa told his son, "Remember who you are," she legit came into the room and she said it just like Mufasa, and she was like, "Remember who you are." And so she said that, but because of all our other conversations before, it reminded me of, you know what? Yeah, I only got $27. My pride is not so big that I can't call my brother, can't call my sister and see what my family can do. And then I got off my butt, and then I said, okay, what is my substantial reality? What do I have that I can utilize in order to take care of my family? Well, at the time, because of my situation, I said, you know what? I still got my GI Bill. I can go to school, and I can start school. And I found a school that processed my whole financial aid and everything that same day. I figured out, and that's when I started my IT journey and started getting certified in IT, because I was like, I can get certified in the IT world in the next 3-4 months and enough to get a job. These student loans, this financial aid, and my GI Bill will keep my house afloat for the time frame that I needed, because it's gonna take about 2-3 weeks for me to start getting that money. And my brother, my sister, and my uncle and them, they can help. They'll help me, but until that time frame, I looked at what's real, what's my substantial reality, and I went and grabbed it. And I grabbed it, and I got started. And I went to school, and and the professor was like, if you take the certification test before the class is over, you get an automatic A. I took them certification tests as soon as I could, right? And then that led me into getting a job. And then I got a job, and I'm working, and now I'm providing for my family. And then I found out that she was pregnant at the same time with our son. And so it was like, okay, now I really got to grind it out. So I started hitting all them certifications to make sure that I can take care of my family. So I had a moment, but she was there, and she reminded me of who I was. But see, but she was able to do that because I had previously earned that spot in her life, right? I earned that spot in her life. Too many women are giving away that spot in their life. Now, some men are giving away the spot for women that the woman should have in their life as well. And we have to be mindful of that as well. But this is where we have to evaluate. We have to become so self-aware that we can evaluate ourselves, and then we can evaluate the other person to say that, what do they deserve? What's their space in my life? What's their role? And does that role benefit me? Because if it doesn't, I don't need to have them in my life, at least not in that capacity. We have to be assured of those things, and that's that self-love that we need to have in our life about ourselves.
Coach,
Yes, ma'am.
you brought out another male that wasn't known by us. We knew about the alpha and the beta, but Charlie
yeah.
male, the knucklehead,
Yeah.
the man that would intimidate. We know it exists, but we didn't know that what it was called.
Yeah, that's that Charlie
Okay,
male.
now we know.
Some people like to confuse that and think that's the beta male, but it's not. It's the Charlie male. That beta male, that's that dude. He got a good job. He takes care of his family. You know, he can rise up and he can handle some things. Usually he'll provide a good life. He could be that, you know, manager, upper management kind of guy if we quantify it in like work positions. He could build a business, but it'll always be a job that he, you know, a small business that he built for to have a job, you know. But he's an all-around pretty decent guy. But he's never going to be the corporate giant. He's never going to be the guy that just goes overboard in making sure that his family rises up in love and in health and in everything. But he's still a really great guy. That Charlie, that joke is destructive. Now there's another male. That's that Delta male. That Delta male, he's sorry. I'm not saying that. He's not sorry. Because you got a Delta man, he's a pushover. He's the quiet, humble guy. He's the one that, you know, he's not ambitious. He doesn't assert himself. He will choose a career because somebody told him you should take that career. Like his parents said or a friend said, you know what, you're good in math. You should become an accountant. And he became an accountant. He really doesn't have a great love for it. Doesn't have a great disdain for it. He just does it. He just blows through life how life treats him. Now, if he's really efficient, if somebody moved him in a career field that he's good at, yeah, he may become a high income earner in that. But it's only because everybody else opened those doors for him and pushed him there. It's not because he decided to go there. So, I mean, he's the guy who, he's good. And you'll see a lot of overly dominant women will choose that guy as their mate because they know they can dominate that guy. They know they can make him do whatever and he's going to just do it. Not gonna push back, none of that. He's not going to have much talk, much argument, but she will always she will have the confidence in knowing that she will always lord over him, right? And I'm sure you've seen that couple before, right? I'm sure you've seen that couple where that's the dynamic, and she just tells him, you know, it's like she treats him like a child, you know, for the most part.
Yeah.
Now I've seen that couple where there's a Delta female and a Delta male, and they just some pushover going through life. And sometimes things are good, sometimes it's bad, but whatever life gives them is what they take, and they don't do much beyond that. I mean, if it works.
Delta male and female seem like Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh no. Nah. Bonnie and Clyde didn't take no crap. Okay.
Okay.
No, Bonnie and Clyde were actually, because I actually did a study about them. And I did a study about Bonnie and Clyde, not because of their criminal activities, but because of the love affair that they showed. I love love. And Bonnie and Clyde were an amazing, loving couple who just happens to be criminals, right? But if you look, actually, when you study them, they were actually both, they were both alpha, and they were true alpha female and male. A little misguided, but you know, she was married when she first met Clyde. And because of the immense connection, chemistry they had, she left her husband to be with him. And her husband wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't like abusive. He wasn't doing anything like that. He was decent, but he was like a little beta dude. But that excitement, that thrill, that connection that they had, when you got a true alpha male and a true alpha female who are balanced and they speak the same love language, then I mean the type of world that they create for themselves is amazing. Now you can have a mixture. You can have an alpha male and a beta female, or vice versa. But they have they're connected. They have great chemistry. They can speak each other's love language. They speak the same love language. They can be very powerful as well. But when you're the same at the same level, it's even more powerful. And they were truly alpha female, alpha male, and their love affair. I mean, there was no way they were gonna die separately. That was not going to happen with them. Those two would live and die together.
Excuse me, Queen. Yes, I have 9 minutes. You have 9 minutes.
Oh, we got 9 minutes. That threw me off for a second. Okay, so I'm gonna let you keep going because I will talk forever. Go ahead.
Hardwired, the 70% and the 25%.
Okay. So the 25% and the 70%. Really, okay, so this will be established more of what's called the 80-20 rule, right? In the business world, the 80-20 rule is that 20% of your product is going to deliver 80% of your profit. When I owned a personal training studio and I was a personal trainer, that correlates biologically as about 25% of who you are is genetic, hardwiring genetics. 75% of who you are is the conditioning, everything that happened around you, the who you was born to, where you was born, the time frame and era that you're born in, the religion you're born to, what non-religion you're born to. All these things are conditional things that are surrounding you. If you was born in a whole nother, it's like that thing we say, if you was born in another country, if you was born in Saudi Arabia, you would be Muslim more than likely. If you are a woman and born in Saudi Arabia, you might be in a polygamous relationship, and it will be normal for you. That's normalcy. 75%. That 25% of hardwiring, though, you got that from your parents, from their parents, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, the Akashic record, so to speak. You got that from your genetics. Some people are predisposed, hardwired to be adventurous. Some people are hardwired to be pessimistic. Some people, no matter what goes on in their life, this is just who they are. And as much as they try to fight against it, they can't. Now, one of the beautiful teachings in the Buddhist tradition and the Taoist tradition is don't fight against who you are. That 25%, don't fight it. That 25%, okay. Find how it can benefit you. Figure out how it benefits you. But so as soon as you become aware, like part of my hard coding is I'm always looking for how things and systems and people can improve, how things can get better. So my 25% says that, and because of that, most jobs don't work for me. Every time I've tried to work for a company, even startup companies that don't belong to me, it's always a struggle because I'm butting heads against people who just want to stay within a system, just do their job and go to the end of the day. Whereas I'm trying to, how much more efficient can this be? I love it. I have to have efficiency. I'm the type of person that if I leave the house and I left something in the house that I may or may not need that day, but I've gotten a certain distance, I'm not backtracking because it's messing with my efficiency. Because I've planned out okay, I'm going to be here by this time and then over here by that time. And it messes with my efficiency. I'm not changing. I'm just hardwired. I'm hardwired, and it was so interesting because I was having a discussion last night. I would literally say I am a love child. I am genetically a love child. My parents knew each other, wanted to be together, were together, dated, was in love with each other, broke up for some reason. My father went on, had 2 daughters. My mother went on, had a daughter and a son. And then my parents came back together out of that being drawn back to each other to have me, right? Because they couldn't get past each other to have me. And then their entire life thereafter was, from my memory, their entire life was, my father, he begged her to come move to Texas with him. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't leave her parents, right? But they still maintained their love affair. He moved to Florida, still maintained their love affair. They dated other people. They married other people, still maintained their love affair. They always had this love for one another. Until the day my father died, they had this immense love for one another. I am the product of that. 25% of me is perfectly understanding why physical touch and quality time is something about me that I don't look to change. I look to personify. I know that that's what it has to be because that's just who I am. I was born like that. You know what I'm saying? So when we discover how we were born, we stop looking at it as weaknesses. We stop looking at something that's hindering us or something we have to change. And we say, well, how can I make this a benefit to my life, right? And even though mine requires an additional person, some people will see that as a weakness. Oh, if you becoming great requires another person, that's a weakness. No, that's a strength. The weakness would be if I'm picking the wrong person. The strength is when I pick the right person, because then I know how I can make $10 million on my own, but the right person I make $100 million. I can make $10 million on my own, but the wrong person, I'm barely making $50,000. See what I'm saying? So
If not broke, though.
it's not what?
If not go for broke.
Right.
With the wrong person, I'm saying.
Yeah. And you have to remove those people out of your life. So when you understand your 25%, what are you hard-coded? What's the thing that no matter how much you try to change it, you can't change that about you? What's the circumstances of your birth? What's the circumstances of your upbringing? How were you as a child, as a baby? Listen to the stories that your parents and family is telling you about how you were as a baby, as a child, and come to an understanding of who you really, really are, that 25%. And then let's personify that 25%. Let's not focus on, the 75% that's conditioning. You can always change that. You can change your environment. You can change a good friend of mine. She changed her environment. She moved. She went to Miami. She changed her environment. She changed her look. She changed her dress. She changed her health. And she just got married a few months ago because she changed everything to fit an environment that personified who she really is. And when she did that, her whole life changed. She's working a job. Now her job got her flying, traveling to places that she always wanted to go. And she got the man that she's always wanted. Because she changed that environment to personify who she is. So we change our environment to personify who we are. And when we do that, our energy starts to match the right vibration, which matches the right frequency and gives us our results that we desire to have. So that little bit, that 25%, then starts giving us that 80%, that 75% of productivity and produces what we want. So then it flows into that business sense of the 80-20 rule, where your 25 gets you your 80, your higher amount. I know 25 and 75.
2 minutes, Miss Queen, 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes. Mental alchemy?
That was about alchemy. Yeah, mental alchemy.
So for the last minute, the briefest understanding of mental alchemy. Alchemy is the process of transmuting something from a base level to a higher level, from going from lead to gold. Now in the medieval times, they mistakenly thought that this literally means from lead to gold. But in truth, it means raising your spirit, raising your consciousness from lead to gold. In a relationship, if you're in your relationship, if it's not golden, like Jill Scott said, living your life like it's golden. If you're not living your life like it's golden, you're not practicing alchemy. Transmuting whatever it is in your life to the best it possibly can be. Purifying it to a level where you're getting the absolute greatest version of yourself, and from that you get the greatest version of your life. So it's about changing who you are, changing your mental thought process, not falling into depression, not always finding the negative in everything, but actually finding a way to make things become exactly what you desire for them to be. So mental alchemy is changing that in your mind first, because the Hermetic laws teaches us that the law of mentalism is the first step. Before we can change our vibration and go up the polarity scale to the higher end, then we first got to change our mental creations in our brain. In our consciousness. We change our mental creations, we change our life, we change our universe, and we change everything else around us. That's what mental alchemy is really about. And when I coach mental alchemy, I do it to change whatever aspect of life that a person needs to change. And usually it's the 360 degrees of their life, from their health, their wealth, their relationship, and their spirituality. We get those things squared away, and you live your greatest life.
There's no chemical solution for a spiritual problem.
There are no chemical solutions, but there are natural. Like I will be coming out with some natural tinctures that people can utilize in their meditative process to help open up their energetic chakra points in their body, so that they're functioning on a physical and a spiritual level a little bit better. those kinds of tools are used to get the mental state right so that the physical state can match the mental. That's part of the law of correspondence. As above, so below, and so below, so as above. We get our bodies, our physical energy, what this material, this physical existence to match the spiritual. So we get our physical to match our consciousness. And when we do that, then we truly have unlocked the next level key of power. So there are things, but not chemical, but natural. Because everything, I'm working with an herbalist for everything to be natural. Everything on this planet is abundant.
Tell us about your books.
The what?
Your books and where to find you. Your books and where to find you.
Well, the only book I have produced right now is one called How to Escape Mental Welfare. I'm working on another book, but my laptop crashed, called How to Find Your Divine Soulmate. You can find me at Coach Renz, that's RENZ.com. Right now, if you contact me, we'll do a free 30-minute consultation to figure out what parts of your life that we can elevate to the highest level. But you can find me there. You can also find me on my YouTube channel, which is my name, Larenzo, LaRenzoreid. Larenzo Reid on YouTube, and Coach Renz on Facebook. So
self-awareness is the key to a better living, huh?
Self-awareness.
Better way of living.
That's where we have to start. We have to start with self-awareness. And from there, we determine the greatness of your life. And when you're doing that, you know, you create your success. You create the great universe that you want to have. It doesn't matter what other people's opinions are. The only opinion that matters is yours. You know, for you, success may be $100 million. Another person, it may be $50 million. For one person, it may be great relationships. For another person, it may be having great health. It's all about how you put each piece together to fit your success of life. And when you do that, then you're living in heaven. You're not living in hell.
Yes. Yes, Mental Alchemy, bringing your life and your spirit in full circle of consciousness.
Exactly. Bringing it in full circle of consciousness.
Peace. Oh, yes. Peace, King. We enjoyed you. Do come back again.
I will.
Peace, love, and light.
Look forward to it. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Be blessed.
You be blessed as well. Hello, YouTube. How are you guys doing? I appreciate everybody for being here. I didn't think that I was going to do this as a live, but I did it anyway. And that's good because I haven't done a live in a while, and I appreciate you guys for being here. I'm going to scroll through real quick, see if there was any questions because I couldn't necessarily answer questions while I was on there. Love is powerful. Yes, it is. I got to move the glasses down just a little bit. I got that old. Yes, love is conditional. All right. What's up? What's up? I would love those acts of service. I'm not about to gas and maintenance in a car. I understand that was a big thing for me, for her. True, not many men think that way, Miss Trish, but one of my things is we will start changing men's process on that and have men start thinking that way. That we need to take better care of ourselves as well as take better care of our mates. I'm glad thank you, I'm glad you appreciate it. The message, the talk. But I appreciate you guys. More lives will start going and they will be more impromptu. I was trying to do my schedule again as far as doing lives, but right now my life is very, very, it's not chaotic because I don't live in chaos, but I can't do a guaranteed schedule every week. So it may be lunch times and things like that. You hear my ringtone? I'm the man. But it'll be lunchtime schedules. It'll be during the evenings, at night, while I'm going around exercising. We're going to be doing lives at all different time frames. So just make sure that you hit that bell notification. If you're watching this for the first time, last time, anytime, hit the bell notifications because YouTube is doing this thing now where if you don't hit that bell notification, they won't notify you when new videos drop, when I drop a new video. And if you're not commenting, they may still not notify you when new videos are dropping. So please comment, please hit the bell icon, and I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great day, and I'll be shooting another video in a little bit. Some of the things I talked about on this one are actually going to be in that video. So you have a great day. Remember, you have to free yourself to be